and all you're going to get your gut stomped out. We're going to be back in 60 seconds to finish a few final calls from Crystal and others. For our guest, Matt Bracken, I'm Alex Jones. Fourth hour, straight ahead. David Knight's coming up. This just in from WorldNet Daily. Dr. Corsi, feds suppressing draft criminal indictment against Hillary. This after the State Department's own Inspector General found significant security risk and that Hillary Clinton lied repeatedly. Ron Paul's coming up to be discussing this and a lot more here in a moment. But look, let's play that clip one more time where they're talking about Donald Trump and the whole debate. And they were on the stage with him. He would stab him and keep stabbing him. It's clearly who he's talking about. The New York Times has had people call for him to be killed. They leave stuff up on Twitter and Facebook saying kill him, kill Trump. But now none of that exists. And now he's had this writer on where they discussed killing him and said, you know, a good patriot needs to stand up and do this. And when they come out and Drudge links to an article about it, they say Drudge is evil and Drudge is a horrible person and a piece of garbage, close quote, because he even linked to a news article about it. Beck calls Drudge evil for suggesting he advocated a patriot killed Donald Trump. Co-host labels news icon despicable, lying scumbag. Glenn Beck sensationally labeled Matt Drudge evil for linking to a post that suggested Beck and his guest on his radio show advocated a patriot assassinate Donald Trump if he becomes president. The American Mirror characterized Beck's discussion with best-selling author Brad Thor as an agreement between the two that they would only way to get Trump out of office was to apparently kill him. And you can tell they're scripting it as to not get in trouble with the Secret Service. And they say, let's just hypothetically, in a literary way, you know, talk about this. You know, we need, if Congress won't stop him, then we need somebody else to, you know, a patriot. This is really creepy, folks. So let's play Beck one more time from a few months ago at CPAC, and then let's play the latest one. And each time he denies that's even what he's saying. Here it is.
If I were on the stage, I would have said, have you been listening to him tonight?
Yeah, right.
Have you been listening to what I say about him?
And also, why would you
I actually, I believe these things. Yeah, I'm not going to be...
You can't sit in their shoes. I mean, does he have gigantic shoes? How could you be sitting
man, if I were close enough and I had a knife. Really, I mean...
Wait, what?
The stabbing just wouldn't stop.
Okay, it's in full context on Infowars.com. They're talking about Trump and how everybody should be against him and never Trump, and then they segue. But for time, I'm just showing the clip where he talks about stabbing him. Now this audio is really not that great, because I guess it is the Glenn Beck show. But Richard Reeves is on the road covering politics, and he was listening to it, following it, and monitoring enemy transmissions, and actually caught video of this audio for you. The full in context is up on Infowars.com, but here's a shorter clip of it.
Well, we have talked about it before. We have seen it time and time again, but it's getting worse. Here's Jake Tapper on the latest National Enquirer angle.
Once again, journalists are in the unhappy predicament of trying to decide whether and how to cover false allegations raised by a candidate for president of the United States. This time, in the midst of Donald Trump's attacks on the Clintons using various scandals and accusations of Bill and Hillary Clinton's until his tragic suicide. In July 1993, Foster, who suffered from depression, drove to Fort Marcy Park in Virginia, walked into the park with an old
Okay, we're going to
revolver.
fade this down because of the time constraints. But you can see the full video. Then he says what a great job he's doing. Here's the Thor comment, also with Beck, talking about we need a patriot to step forward if Congress won't deal with Trump. Here it is.
With the feckless, spineless Congress we have, who will stand in the way of Donald Trump overstepping his constitutional authority as president? If Congress won't remove him from office, what patriot will step up and do that? If he oversteps his mandate as president, his constitutional granted authority, I should say, as president, if he oversteps that, how do we get him out of office? And I don't think there is a legal means available. I think it will be a terrible position the American people will be in to get Trump out of office, because you won't be able to do it through Congress.
Oh, I would agree with you on that.
So, again, they're the ones that started the fights with Matt Drudge and everybody. They're the people that are going after Trump. They're the people going after populism. He's the guy that goes and gives, you know, teddy bears to the illegals and all the rest of it. Will he give teddy bears to the troops that are being euthanized? I mean, it's all stunts. We live in an incredible time, to say the least. We are seeing so many good things happen, but also so many bad things. We're seeing the Associated Press come out with a national poll a month ago showing that 6% of news consumers trust mainstream media. We're seeing the ratings go from bad to worse at CNN and MSNBC and so many other platforms. Fox, to even stay pertinent, has to be Ron Paul / Alex Jones light. And, of course, Ron Paul's launched in the last few years his own radio TV network, now reaching tens of millions a month. We're doing the same thing. Competition is absolutely beautiful for a free market and an open society. That's why John D. Rockefeller called it a sin, famously. So I want to talk about these moves by the Federal Elections Commission deputy chair to try to censor the internet, starting with Matt Drudge, and then talk radio, starting with Rush Limbaugh. Because if they can take down Matt Drudge or Rush Limbaugh, folks, they can take down anybody's free speech. And believe me, they have been eyeing Campaign for Liberty. They've been eyeing InfoWars. They've been eyeing Ron Paul's private media operations because they're so effective. So I wanted to speak with the former congressman and medical doctor and really the torchbearer worldwide for libertarian ideas, in my view. I think that's undisputed, about where he sees the world right now and what the establishment's going to do. Also, the big central banks are moving to try to abolish cash. He, for decades, tried to get the bill passed. It's very close to passing finally, after not even having any co-sponsors a few decades ago, to audit the Fed. It seems liberty's on the march, but also tyranny's on the rise. The best of times, worst of times. And we'll talk about Campaign 2016 and more. Dr. Paul, thank you so much for spending time with us. You look great. It's good to have you with us via your Skype connection.
Thank you, Alex. Good to see you today.
We've got about a 2 or 3 second delay, so I'll try to just, not jump in too much, just with a few questions. You heard what I threw out. Where would you like to start? With the moves to censor? I don't think I've ever seen, with Facebook and all the rest of them being caught, censorship of this magnitude.
I think we live in an age where there's no understanding and no respect whatsoever for personal liberty and personal privacy. The founders understood it much better. They tried to protect us against a big government that would come in and destroy that. But there is a collusion between big business, corporatism, and big government that are in control, so therefore they can control the output. It used to be that newspapers did it in 3 major networks, and we understood it, and then it changed when there were more cable stations and internet stations and all. But they haven't quit. They're still challenging us, and you're right, the IRS has not been kind to us. They've been after us quite a few different times on some of our organizations, and they continue to do it. They'd like to bankrupt us, through all the money you have to spend to try to defend oneself. But I think what we're witnessing today is a result of an era ending, and I've talked about this for maybe 5+ years, about the end of an era, because I believe the era of big government, the progressive era, really exhausted itself probably at the end of the last century. And now we have just been fidgeting and trying to keep things together. And that's why, the political parties are in shambles, the economy's in shambles, civil liberties are in shambles. But the real problem is that the system we have today isn't working, it's ending. Keynesian economics doesn't work. That model is bad and never worked. But that was the substitute for fascism and communism. And the 20th century did a pretty good job at smashing it, because it's a total failure. And there are still some who would like to be socialists and think that Venezuela is the way to go and all this nonsense. But, the markets are very powerful. The market said that fascism and communism failed. But the substitute, the American substitute of Keynesianism, economic planning, central banking, inflationism, fiat money, and running our lives, regulating our lives, taking away our liberties, and also this obsession with us believing that we are so exceptional that we can tell the rest of the world how to live. And we should be exceptional in dealing with our own problems and setting a good example. So I think the mess that we're in today is the end of this era, and without anybody admitting this, we and those in the freedom movement have been trying to warn people of this and giving them an option, and quite frankly, I think we're doing fine there, even though, like you mentioned, Alex, on the introduction, that, statism and big government's alive and well. But they're bankrupt, so they will end. Just as our empire will end, Keynesian economics will fail, the central banking system is going to fail. We just have to concentrate on it to energize another generation that there is an option for this, there is an alternative. And of course, that's what I've been working on for quite a few years.
Absolutely, Dr. Paul. Expanding on that, looking at what the so-called left is doing, allied with the establishment Republicans in this country, similarly in Europe, where I know you've traveled and spoken extensively of well, they now, because they were discredited last century, as you said, are instead just trying to dumb everyone down and really much overthrow reality and overthrow the engines of free market that are left, because they just can't compete with that even existing. Even though it brings down the civilization, they'd rather rural people, not be able to take care of themselves. They'd rather city people not be able to take care of themselves. They'd rather the whole country and the whole world be poor and rule a huge junk pile instead of a great civilization. And so my concerns are, what do you see them doing in their death throes? Because even most mainline analysts are starting to agree with you that we're coming to the end of a bubble, that no matter what the establishment does, they're not going to be able to suppress change. More and more young people are waking up. So clearly, I agree with you, this great turning that you've talked about for decades, but you've said is very close for 5 years, is pretty much here. But how do you expect the empire to strike back? I mean, I think we're seeing it. Open, naked authoritarianism, but doesn't that only accelerate the fall of their system?
Well, yes, they're a failure, but they will strike out. And I think that what they have going for them right now is the dumbing down of America. So in many ways, they have been successful by getting hold of the public school system and teaching people, bad economics and bad foreign policy and all the things that are wrong. But at the same time, the failure is there. I think they know that the failure is there, but they will strike out and they will become more authoritarian. And I think that is exactly what they're doing. And it isn't a partisan thing when you know that the Nancy Pelosi's of the world and the John Boehners of the world were much more buddies than anybody realized, but that continues. The parties mean very little. But I think if nothing else, this current election cycle that's going on represents the dumbing down of America. But then again, does that mean we should be exhausted and run for the hills, or should we continue the fight? Obviously, I'm here for the fight, and to me, it's an intellectual fight. And we have to beat them with better ideas, and I think there is a receptive audience out there. But what they have power because they're in control right now. But what we have on our side is that ideas have consequences. You can't stop ideas. Even the armies and the governments can't stop ideas if their time has come. And of course, the need has come, and certainly we hope to make it. Our time has come for the option to be, because I see the collapsing of this system as the opportunity to be more forceful in our presentation, because they will be very aggressive. They will use the judicial system and the IRS and everything else because their goal is power. They believe that they are exceptional. They believe that they know what is best for us. For instance, the silliness of what this country has endorsed now with the Federal Reserve, that they know what interest rates should be. That's the most ridiculous thing in the world for somebody who knows anything about economics and a free market. So I think there's, in the midst of this mess, we do have opportunities.
Sir, you've got so many organizations and groups and TV shows and radio shows. I see it and hear it everywhere. I want to say congratulations to your media team. It's so wonderful to see you, not just in Congress now, but you look younger than you did 5 years ago, so congratulations on the hard fight in Congress and not missing any votes that you couldn't, and working so hard and now reaching so many people. But is RonPaulLibertyReport.com, is that one of the best sites to talk about?
Yeah, we concentrate on that, although we have a homeschool curriculum and Campaign for Liberty and other sites. But yes, this is my outlet. This is my effort to reach more people, the Ron Paul LibertyReport.com. And our growth is very significant, and I'm excited about it. But we still have a ways to go. But absolutely, if you look at what are the various organizations, if you look at the line of growth, it's in the Liberty Report, and that's where I put a lot of my efforts right now. RonPaulLibertyReport.com, folks. Absolutely key to get those articles and videos out to everybody. Now, speaking of this, you, of course, are a retired gynecologist, and you also delivered babies. I guess that's an obstetrician. Correct me if I'm wrong, sir. And I know that you even famously, without trying to get attention, but it's well known, would go and work basically for free in the charity hospitals. I mean, you're a real
Hippocratic Oath type doctor, and so many people that you delivered and so many families that you helped, have spoken out in your campaigns about the great job you've done, a true servant. I know you don't like folks to heap praise on you, but you are uniquely